Mercury in Scorpio and the laws of attraction. The purpose of these videos, this mercurial series, is to see where your natal Mercury is and how it can best be used to apply the laws of attraction, to sort of really empower ourselves to know the co-creators that we are. Well, Mercury in Scorpio, there's taking no prisoners here, because Pluto inherently knows that it's a powerful creator. Scorpio by nature rules billionaires, it rules power, it rules control, it rules the occult. So on some level, astrology, things like the tarot, and these ideas that can be looked at in the other houses from a more philosophical point of view, where in Scorpio, they're sort of used in a more, I feel like Scorpio knows some of these themes in an inherent way. So this is how I want to offer this, because Mercury in Scorpio has a lot of very powerful dynamics. There is a very, very close connection to the other side with Mercury in Scorpio. Now, we're not talking about individual aspects here. So this is kind of looking at it from the highest vibration. So there'll be an intuitive knowing from you who have Mercury in the 8th house of Scorpio, how powerful you are. It doesn't mean you won't fear it. And it doesn't mean that you won't have dark thoughts about it. It's a very deep and penetrating energy. And so, and it requires, it is requiring transformation. So if you have Mercury in Scorpio and you're trying to pretend you're not a co-creator, it's going to be kind of a bumpy ride. No, it's going to be a really bumpy ride. But when you surrender to the idea that you're a powerful co-creator, then the natural detective inside of Scorpio, being able to see the underbelly, the deeper and deeper meaning behind the psychology of people's thoughts and the words that come out of their mouth, you could be probably the most quick, powerful, and I should listen to myself, and expeditious manifester that there is. Because everything that we manifest on is an emotional body, but the emotional body and the way our thoughts work are intertwined. You can't have one without the other. So when we are initially imprinted with our mercurial thoughts as a child and how we're raised, we take that into our adulthood, we take that into our partnerships, we take that into our intimacy. And so when you have Mercury in Scorpio, you cannot lie to yourself about the powers of attraction. You cannot pretend that you are not contributing to your experience. Depending upon where Scorpio falls in your chart, it may be more challenging for you to see the exact point of view of your participation, but inherently you will know that it is so. So I want to offer this because Mercury is deep here. Mercury likes to have very deep and savory and rich and fulfilling conversations. It has no interest at all in talking about frivolity. And at the same time, there is a part of this dynamic that craves for what is deep and underneath to be lived loud and large in the 3D world. So if you have Mercury in Scorpio, I think in order to truly and succinctly apply the laws of attraction, there might be the first question you ask yourself is, am I afraid to be a powerful co-creator? Because if I am a co-creator, then all the Plutonian energies that I have experienced, because Mercury in Scorpio is going to give you a Plutonian way of thinking. I think it's going to give you it could be a little sinister, and it could be a little dark, and it could be a little it could be kind of like so hard on yourself that you really can't get past that dark intensity that Scorpio can be sometimes. So in order to facilitate the highest vibrations of this dynamic of Mercury in Scorpio is first to ask yourself if you're afraid of being powerful. And then I think the second most important thing is to realize and to practice pondering and to think about and read about people and other dynamics who have experienced their power, because everyone who has ever really become a person of legend or note has always walked a path somewhere where they've dipped down into a dark place and had to rise up above that to see not only what's been created, but their participation within it. And so as an exercise, I want to offer it this way. I think me being a Mercury, Scorpio and Mercury and Scorpio, sorry. I think that it's really about being brave and how much I have to ask myself, do I want to continue to take myself and swirl around the drain? Because, you know, sometimes having Mercury and Scorpio can make you like just not want to be on the planet. It can be such a difficult ride to have this intuitive knowing and to feel the depths of other people's emotions, but not like Pisces. Pisces is compassionate. I think that maybe Pluto and Mercury in Scorpio is a little impatient with it, and therefore impatient with the victim-y energy. That's the way I want to put it. And therefore they're impatient with their own victim-y energy. And I think taking a victim-y energy off of it and just allowing yourself the privilege to say, I did the best I could do in that moment. And now, how do I want to let fear empower me? The thing about the 8th house, it's like really the first house where the soul experiences a vulnerability and an intimacy by being naked with one's partner. It rules sex. It rules criminal behavior where we're powerless. And it also rules great power. So within the Scorpio energy, there's the potential for amazing and spiritual evolvement in leaps and bounds, but it usually comes from like a really, really challenging experience. So I think here it's about asking yourself what, you know, if I have chosen to have Mercury in the 8th house of transformation, of death and rebirth, of rising like the phoenix, what do I want to know about the imprint on the I think, I speak? Because I think that on some level, the Scorpio energy can play out to the world as if it's not really experiencing those dark sides. It can exercise such a leadership and an eloquence through its speech that it appears not to be vulnerable to it. And then they're alone with their own self-talk. And that's when I think those obtrusive thoughts can come in. Am I good enough? Am I worthy enough? Am I as smart as I think I am? I don't know if you guys remember the detective show Columbo. Peter Falk played a detective, and it was so interesting because he was brilliant in his deductions, but he always came across sort of as bumbling. And I think that was part of the character's shtick, is to you know, lull people into a false sense of security so that they would reveal themselves. So here, this is where I'm going. All of this mercurial energy that we normally would be outwardly focused is now to be inwardly focused in order to apply the law of attraction, and then to be able to really implement the law of allowing and see the transformation in the 3D world. So what am I dependent upon? What stories have I told myself that I have no choice in? For instance, you know, there's obligatory relationships within families. Mercury rules siblings. You know, where are you feeling, you know, potentially bogged down by the neighborhood, the everyday community? And is this really the deeper truth? Or is this, you know, a role you have agreed to play because in your mind it is the lesser of two evils of what you will receive back from the universe? So I think with Mercury in the 8th house of Scorpio, really digging into the deeper motivations of self, being authentic with, you know, some of the frailties of your motivations, because again, you know, the human is trained to behave in ways that support other people's happiness, not their own happiness. And I think with Mercury in the 8th house of transformation, it really wants an Independence Day from that idea. And so that it can express itself in a way that doesn't have to be domineering in order to achieve and receive. Because you got to remember too that Scorpio is other people's money. And it's on an axis where Taurus has got my personal skills and I make money through that. And then there's a cooperative component to how I make my money in the 8th house. You know, that's where stockbrokers are. That's where financial brokers and people that move money around, bankers, husbands and wives, inheritances, and all those sort of things. So I think there's a deep penetrating sort of inventory of where I've given up my power to outside sources, and am I willing to claim my power back in small ways so that I can see that I don't need to depend on others to feel bountiful. So let's just break this down into a little everyday exercise you could do. Let's say that your everyday life is intricately entangled with somebody else's finances, and then you don't have complete control over your finances. I'm just going to use this as an example for manifestation, because I think the 8th house is about a commingling of some kind. So when you're examining, let's say you want to make your own money. And so how much time are you willing to think about, what could I do in a mercurial way to use my skills out in my community in order to make money? And it doesn't have to be large amounts of money. Again, this is a hypothetical. This is a scenario. You can change the pieces to put what you want to manifest in the bucket. But overall, the willingness to see the actions that you're willing to take in the way of what do I think and what do I speak about my obligatory relationships that I've told myself that hold me back from experiencing the independence that I want to experience and the abundance I want to experience and the power that I know that comes from that. Okay. On to our next mercurial dynamic. Bye, guys.